Today's subject matter is going to be on this Kohler Courage. And you guys that are having these hard start problems, you see that Kohler Courage there? You see that starter? I wanted to introduce these Way starters. I believe that's Western Alliance Industries. They are made in China, but they're made a lot better as far as the Bendix and so forth is concerned. They still have the lighter windings, but this starter weighs almost about twice what that piece of junk from China over there weighs. And this starter also failed. My video here is in between. This is parts for Holly Ann. She's been a part. Everybody knows I'm part of motorsports, and this is what I do for a living. I'm either at my shop or the other shop. Here or at the other shop. This is off of a Yardman tractor. I don't think this is necessary, but in between all Holly Ann's body parts, she's in a lot of pieces right now, doing custom outfitting on these trucks and fit outs and cutting metal where it's all rotted out. It's a real bitch, and it does kind of junk up the place. There's the Yardman right there. That's the tractor that it's out of. Now, how to solve this problem, I'm going to go into great detail because I wanted to reach out to each and every one of you guys that are having this problem. If you want one of those better starters, which I would recommend that starter, it's Motor City Reman. And I wanted to mention the gentleman's name that I was very helpful. He was not affable, but I think he knows a problem that exists with these engines. So, let me put you guys on a tripod here. I'm not very good at cameras. I'm a lot better at fixing vehicles, and I'll put it up so you guys can see my face when I tell you. The way to solve this problem with these Kohler Courage, it's the motor oil. It's not the engine. They do not have a compression release. The other bad thing, they went from the Kohler Pro, which was in these tractors. This has the Kohler Pro. That's a good engine. The Courage motor over there is what superseded that. So how to fix this? You have to drain the engine. That's number one. But I'm fighting with this camera. I do not like this tripod. I think I ought to throw it out yet. But anyway, I hate pointing the camera up in the air, up in the sky. But it's a beautiful day here. And I got to get some of this junk cleaned up. I got to get Dale's tractor done, my grass cut, and I want to get Holly Ann's fender here prepped. It's still got some rust underneath. So again, drain the motor oil out, and you're going to have to rotate that engine. What happens is that thicker oil, that 30 weight that you used in there, or 1040, is too thick. You need a 530 motor oil. So you got to get it all out of there by rotating the engine. And what that's going to do is it's going to make those hydraulic lifters stiffer than my back gets in the morning when I get up. And I mean stiff. Too bad my thing don't get that hard no more and stiff. But anyway, the number one problem with that is you have to maybe even flush that motor. You have to get that thicker oil out of there. Okay? And then once you do that, that motor, that's why it gets to that tight spot and you can barely turn it. Drain that oil. If you have to put like a motor flush or a motor rinse in it, don't put oil in with it, just put some down there, and that kerosene or whatever, let it all drain out. Let it sit the whole day, that it's all out of there, okay? Because Caro can kind of hurt. These engines they're not water cooled, they're air cooled, so that Caro can hurt. It can hurt the rings, so you got to make sure you get 95% of that out of there. You might put the new starter on and you might think you have the valve set, and then you might end up taking those valve covers off yet another time to adjust them. So there is going to be valve adjustment if you're not confident with doing it yourself, because it is time consuming. It took up most of my day. I did not get my work done, so I might end up playing hooky from the other shop tomorrow yet to get my shit done and get Dale's tractor done. But I want to get this grass cut and some of this stuff cleaned up. And the more parts I can get prepped and get that bullshit back on the truck, I got to clean up here. I just don't like to live like this. So encountering a problem, if you're like that and your time's compressed, that is a time-consuming repair. You got to take that motor out, and like I said, it's going to be tough turning it, and you're going to be there like I was, maybe a half an hour to 3/4 of an hour till I worked all that old oil out of there. I refilled the crankcase, and I could notice there was a noticeable difference once I put the 530 in. Now let me explain. A lot of guys only cut in the summer, okay? But you get in these temperate climates, like up here, where it's cold in the morning. In that shed, that it might have went down to 35 or 40 degrees last night. That heavy 30 weight oil is made to function above like 70 degrees. I don't know why they even call it, they don't really give you the temperature parameters. But that 30 weight, that heavy 30 weight oil, okay, that's for those much smaller tractor engines. They require, or not tractor, but like lawnmowers. They require that. These are almost like a car engine. And when you're working a starter, an electronics or electric stator, okay, it puts a big drag on that motor. Okay, the motor will run with that oil because I had it running with those other two starters before they took a poop. It'll run, and it'll seem to run fine. And once the motor's hot, it'll seem fine. It's just when it's cold again the next morning, that's when this happens. So it's a motor oil thickness issue, okay? I'm sorry about this camera. Let me bow my head down here. See how it sheared the top right off? Well, that's not supposed to, that doesn't go with it, but it sheared the top right off. Those Bendix are so cheap, they're light metal. That starter, like I said, it outweighs this starter pretty good. So that is the Kohler engine mystery solved, all in one ball of wax. It's your oil, and it will require you to maybe break that motor open, maybe inspect it inside if you think you damaged something inside, because those cam gears and stuff are plastic. And again, the Kohler Courage motor, if you call Kohler, they have hydraulic valves and they do not have a compression release. So it is not a compression release problem, because me, like being the in the hurry type of guy like I was looking for a compression release. I was looking for the easy fix. They're called a bucket motor. The top comes right off because it's like a bucket. The Kohler Pro, okay, that was superseded by that engine, that has a compression release. And that's why they function real nice and smooth when they work right. That engine rolls over like butter. It's just blah, and it's ready to go to work. This thing's crank, 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 crank. And it was real bad with that oil in there. So bad it was shearing the tops right off those starters. So you guys having this issue, especially in the colder weather, it's your oil. And I'm not saying you're going to be able to drain that oil out unless you flush that motor and work all that oil out of there like I did. As I said, I was the better part of it, and maybe I would say 45 minutes to an hour. I said a half hour. I was there quite a long time working that oil out of there. And like I said, once I filled the crankcase, it was still tight. So I had to de-adjust those valves. In other words, they were too tight with that thicker oil in there. So get that through your head, that you're going to have to either rinse that motor or make sure that you've completely drained every ounce of that oil out of there, and you're going to have to turn the motor to do it, because there's still, that oil is still in the lifters. And if you ever seen about a coffee cup, that's how much oil's still in that engine even after you drain it, unless you turn the tractor on. It like a lot of guys like me, if I want to thoroughly drain an engine before I break it down, I'll actually jack one side of the tractor up so I get most of that oil. But there's still going to be maybe half a coffee cup of that oil in there. So it's important that you flush that motor if you're that anal like I would have done it, but I was in a hurry, and I've got to get this guy's tractor together, and I've got to get my work done. So that's my video. Thanks, and I'm going to upload it to YouTube. I am going to call Sam with the HTTPS and so that they can get my YouTube video and get this information out. So that's how you solve the Kohler Courage engine, where it seems to be locking up and you got that hard compression stroke. That's your answer, and it's what solved it for me anyway. Thanks.